Welcome, everybody, to today's show. Hi, I'm excited to bring you my Rewire 2024 group. We're going to talk about their successes, their challenges, why they joined, and who they are now, and if it's different than when they started. If you're finding this on YouTube, hi, I'm JJ. It's my show. And today I'm actually not going to talk a lot. I'm going to try not to. But if you're finding me on YouTube, this is a podcast. You can download it and take it with you. And if you're here on the podcast, we did a video. So come on over to jjflizanes.tv so you can meet these lovely ladies and see them and watch their beautiful faces explain to you what has changed for them in the last 6 or 7 months. All right. So we're going to start off with probably the order in which you guys signed up. And so the questions are going to be this. We're going to start with, please introduce yourself, tell everybody who you are and where you're from, like where you live, and how you got here, and then why you joined. Okay. So that'll be the first sort of group of questions. I think I'm going to start with Miss Ingrid.
Hello, everyone. My name is Ingrid, and I'm from the Netherlands. So I found JJ through a podcast of, I think, Dr. William Davis, where she was being interviewed. And I started listening to her podcasts, and it struck a chord. And so I've listened for about a year, or maybe even more than a year. And then I decided to join for a course. And first, I did the Awaken Your Dream Life, and then second, I did this Rewire and Evolve course for the past 7 months. So I joined because I'm trying to find myself better, get to know myself better, and try to get more in touch with my own feelings. And the course and JJ's knowledge and all the tools that she brings and the exercises we had to do really helped me explore myself and sort of like get to know myself better and come to a point where I'm like I'm better than I was 6-7 months ago, and I'm way better than I was like a year ago or even 2 years ago. So yeah, that's really progress, and I like that. So
Just a quick question about, because this kind of group is a commitment on many levels, time, financially, and effort and energy and emotion. And so on a scale of 1 to 10, in terms of how much you think you needed it, like I know you've been listening for a while and it's, you were feeling the impulse to do something and you did Awaken Your Dream Life. And then from there, what would you say was the one thing that made the difference for you in terms of you taking the leap to do this?
what I really liked is the fact that you are you, and that you are very sharing and personal, and that makes it almost like talking to a friend, even though we didn't really meet before. We haven't met live yet, but it makes it personal. It's of course it's personal for me, but um, it also feels like you are really, well, I feel that you are invested in us, in me, and you can reflect on things that I say and give back things, and yeah, of course this is a course, and I bought the course, so sure there's money involved, but it doesn't feel like it feels personal, and that was what I was looking for. So sure, there is a transaction, but it's way more personal than all the money can explain.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you're reminding me of when your application came in right after Awaken Your Dream Life, and then I think I was going somewhere, so I quickly, and you're in the Netherlands, so I got on I think a FaceTime with you in my garage in my robe, like without any
Yes.
like coming out of the shower. It was like really early in the morning, and so it was the only time we could connect. I think I was traveling, but and you made a comment about that yes, this
Yes.
when you are in a group of mine, you learn how to be yourself in all the ways, from being in the bathtub. That was last year's group. Did a lot of in the bathtub polos, from having no makeup on, having your hair in a towel, crying, of course, that's the big one. So,
Yeah.
all right, cool. I'll have more questions, but I'll come back to you. So thank you, Ingrid. So Karen,
Yes.
I'm going to come to you next because you also rolled from Awaken Your Dream Life into this. So name, where you're from, how'd you find me, and why you're here? Why did
I'm
you do this?
Los Angeles and Ventura. And I've known you for many, many years, like 30 years, but never thought didn't think I needed your work, didn't know I needed your work, realize now I need your work. Um, and I was moving to the Ventura area. I still am. And you invited me to a wine party in Ojai. And I figured that's a good way to make connections. So, and it is personal. Everything that Ingrid said, I'm following that up. I was drawn also to working in a group setting with other women, which I thrive upon. What else do you want to know?
What did you want? Well, your name is Karen Rich. You didn't say your name.
Dr. Karen Rich, because you told me to own the space and own my credentials. Dr. Karen Rich. Yes.
And why ultimately, so you joined, but there's more than just being, because you could do a lot of different things. You already are in groups with women. So why this group with women and this work? Why did you want to do it?
This work went deeper than I've gone before. In all my other groups don't deal with the feelings and the needs list. I am going into more of that work. The upper limiting, I didn't know how I was upper limiting myself. I didn't know what my core wounds were. Even though I've discussed all these in other groups, I didn't decipher them very clearly. So that helped. I mean, I became aware of the feeling controlled. I never realized I was feeling controlled. I never realized that how rejection drove me to make choices in my life that I wouldn't have made before. And being made to feel guilty, overcoming those things. Okay, somebody makes me feel guilty. I'm going to move on now, whereas I didn't before.
Yeah, somebody, one of my mastermind members who did the Rewire, the beta, was actually talking to a client of hers who she's transitioning from one profession to another one. And the client said, you know what? No, I need a therapist. I think I need a therapist. And talked about some trigger that she had. And this client said, oh, do you know what core wound causes that feeling? And she said, no. And she goes, well, you're not going to find out with your therapist. So anyway, but I said, well, just let her go. This is what she needs. This is what, right. And it's the clarity. And for a lot of people, especially, so you guys just finished. So there are a lot of people who I'm still working with that have moved on to like the mastermind or something. And now like being able to be with them for like another year, it's still unfolds. You still use it and you get to see, oh my God, why am I reacting this way? And then you go, what's the wound? And it always goes back to a core wound, but it doesn't have any power over you once you understand that. And you understand what to do differently about it. And it doesn't have to control you. And the clarity, I think, is for me, because as my Sag moon, and you are Sag moon too, the clarity helps you to go, oh, that's why. So you don't feel this big story coming on of why like I'm screwed up or why this is how it's always going to be or some story that we tell ourselves. And it's like, no, here, simple. This is a wound I have, and this is what happens when it gets triggered. And then, oh, okay, now what do I do about it? So we don't get stuck in the story. So I do appreciate that has given you a sense of freedom or clarity to not, go down a rabbit hole or to not make judgments about yourself or to not decide things about yourself because of a trigger. A trigger gets to be deconstructed and then understood. And then it has less power because you understand it, right?
Also, yeah, also that huge need for space that I had that I never realized I had a huge need for space. Just taking the space and relaxing into the space instead of speeding around like I usually do. That's been a huge lesson for me.
Good. Awesome. Well, thanks, Karen. I'm going to come back to you. Michelle, you were next.
Hi, I'm Michelle. I'm from Chicago. I found JJ also when she was being interviewed on Dr. William Davis's podcast, which is funny because I wasn't listening to that very often either. It was just kind of serendipity. And that was probably in January or February this year. So it was pretty fast, me getting engaged with JJ. I immediately resonated with her on the podcast and immediately got her book and read her book, Invisible Fitness. And that really struck some chords with me and started listening to the podcast nonstop. And you did your manifestation challenge real close behind that. And so I did that. And once I did that, you started advertising this. And I'm like, you know, I think I think this is something that intrigues me. It took me a while to get over the financial hurdle. But the reason I did it was I was really feeling stuck and had been feeling stuck kind of for a long time. Like I have more potential, more to do with my life, and I feel like I'm not necessarily living my own life, but living the life that's been kind of like handed to me by or dictated by others, and generally feeling overwhelmed and frustrated, and like my base level emotion was anger instead of joy, and really wanted to move to a different place. And that, and I said, you know what? I've tried other things. I'm going to give this a shot.
And you did. Yes, and I'm glad you did. And I'm glad that you're so sometimes everybody, your applications, I don't know why. Michelle's like, hey, did you get my application? Because you had filled it out and then I didn't see it. And because it didn't come. So there's a system and then it didn't trigger like a response email. So I didn't even get it. I had to go back and look at that system and I saw that there and I'm like, oh, I never even got this. So, know sometimes that if you reach out to me, sometimes technology doesn't work. So just, there are multiple ways to reach me, and this could be through direct message from Instagram and, email me directly. It's fine. Or what else? Facebook Messenger. That's another way. Again, you could call the 800 number. So jjflizanes.com, just email me if for some reason you've reached out and I have not gotten back in touch with you. There is a reason. It's not because I'm ignoring you. It's because I probably didn't get it. So I'm glad that you said something, Michelle.
Well, and that was something that actually really struck me, because when I read your book, I did the audiobook. And you had all this supplemental material that I couldn't find, and it didn't come with the audiobook. And I emailed you, and you emailed me right away and sent me the whole PDF of the whole book. And I'm like, oh, well, I didn't expect that. That was awesome.
Right. Good. I'm glad you had the taste of my customer service, and then you realized that something must be wrong if she didn't respond to me with an application for a course. Yeah, that's definitely a technology thing. Okay, so more coming soon. We're now going to move to Julie. Julie and I talked, I think, on my birthday, like literally maybe a week before this whole thing started. We did a little FaceTime when I was in Sedona, Arizona, because you had just found me and we were like, did it start yet? Did it start yet? So Julie, welcome.
Well, thank you. So I had found you through Dr. Davis because I was having all these major gut issues and I had gained all this weight, and that was just not me. And so I heard you on that podcast, and then I looked you up, and like for a week, I probably listened to 50 hours of you. And I liked everything you said. I liked how I may have a physiology background, but you connected the spiritual to the emotions, to the physical, to the physiology. Like you just connected all the dots, because most people can only like do one thing, like Dr. Davis does what he does. And Louise Hay did her thing, but you do them all. And so I loved how you connected it all. So I wanted to release this weight, and my life needed to change a little bit. And I knew it wasn't just one component. So I wanted to release the weight. And also I needed to find out what kept me in this marriage for an embarrassing amount of time. For 38 years, and I was with him for 45. Like that's a whole flipping lifetime. So I needed to find out what was it about me that I stayed that long, so that I don't repeat that pattern.
Beautiful. Yes. Good. And first introduce yourself and where do you live?
Well, okay. My name is Julie Engelbert. I live in Fort Worth, Texas.
Okay. All right. Next set of questions is going to be, well, I asked originally, what did you learn? But some of you have already kind of started to talk about that. So let's hone it in on what's the most important thing that you learned. And I'll go in the same order. So it'll be Ingrid, Karen, Michelle, and Julie. What's the most important, most impactful thing that you've learned? And then we can even blend that into the next question, which is, okay, so this is the most impactful thing that you learned. And then what did you change because of that? So Ingrid, why don't you start?
So the most important thing that I learned is maybe not technically learning, but realizing is that I've been upper limiting for like 10 years. And I learned that because we went into all kinds of topics. We went searching for our core wounds. We talked about the love languages. We talked about the what's it called again? I forget the name, but we the upper limiting in the book of Gay Hendricks. That's where I was going. And when we did the last exercise, I realized that me being not happy for like 10 years, even though from the outside of my life everything was fine, more than fine, was the upper limit. As if I would not believe and kept myself on happiness. And so that's the most impactful realization that I made from these past 6 months. And that was in the second half of the course. Of course, all the other things lead up to that. So what did I learn? I learned to better understand my feelings and needs, and that, of course, you're supposed to tackle your needs, well, solve or resolve your needs yourself, because you cannot wait for somebody else to do that for you, because that's too victimy. So I learned about that in theory. We learned about the love languages and what your personal pattern is, which really makes me understand myself better, but also makes me understand my husband better, and why sometimes he does something that I'm like, what are you doing? But that's the love languages. So I can understand that better. And so it all leads up to understanding myself better. And then one of the things that I did was a healing day, which was a day during the day to myself. So the house was empty. My husband and children were not in the house. And I had like 8 hours to myself. And I did we talked about that in one-on-ones, because that's also the good thing. It's not just theory, it's also personal, the personal one-on-ones that we have. And we talked about having a healing day. So I went to find my feelings, my sad feelings, and from there I was writing letters to, well, not to send them, but to my husband and to my mother and father and my children, in reverse order. So first my parents and then my husband and children. And in that letter writing, and I was just writing, crying. I didn't read it back yet. I haven't had time to really read it back yet. But what is in there was really eye-opening, and that's when I had that realization. I am happy, but I do, like what the upper limit says, I do pick a fight at Sunday evening 10:30, because I don't know why. Because I'm happy, but I'm not allowed to be happy. That's weird. I mean, where does that come from? But it's there, and realizing that makes it go away. So of course, the implementing things and the keep realizing things and not going back to your old patterns, that's the hardest part. I mean, now we have to stay on track. And but I'm happy with that outcome. So
if I only reflect back to make this more, I don't know, and that was all great. What I want to say is, for people who are listening and wondering, so are you happier now?
yes.
Okay. Right.
Yes.
So, all right. No. And I wanted the story, right? Because part of the how to be happier, I think you guys have heard me say this on the show. I have a neighbor, 80-year-old man, who asked me what I did. And I was like, okay, I dumbed it down. I said, I teach people how to be happy. And he goes, oh, that's great. Are you a therapist? I said, no, I'm a coach. Right. But it's really, yeah, but someone might say, oh, cool. How do you do that? I say, oh, well, well, that's a longer conversation. Like, the point is, it's how to be happier. But how you get there is by understanding the mechanics of your beliefs and removing blocks and learning how to expand into more joy and allow more things in. But, there's a lot of ways we get there, and it doesn't have to be all of them. And sometimes it needs to be more of them. But ultimately, are you happier? Do you feel better? Are you, you recognize at some point that there's a cultural thing for you. There's a cultural, like you, or you feel it's cultural. Maybe it could be your family and your, immediate culture, if you will, maybe not the entire Netherlands. I don't know. Haven't been yet, but that people like you're not allowed to be too happy. You have to pretend that, like they're just doing the thing and you can't actually be excited about it or passionate about it, or God forbid I express joy. I have to be serious. I have to take things seriously. I have to have that. And that is an upper limit of not allowing yourself to be and to feel the full range of positive emotions openly and without hesitation, without apology, like being unapologetic about being happy. So, which I think is an important message for people. And some people play that down. And again, some of it's cultural, some of it's generational, some of it's familial, some of it
It's
is
a
media.
combination.
Yeah.
It's all of that. And yeah, and I let myself play smaller than I would want to, and that I do now. But I did. Why? Don't know. Because protection. Because if you do go over that limit, then you might face repercussions, and maybe not really severe ones, like really being ostracized or anything. But I mean, the thing in my family was act normal. I mean, you don't have to how do you say, exaggerate how good you are or whatever, because that's like, wow, it's not good. Girls don't do that. So I was being limited at being the good girl.
Yes.
And I want to be more than that. I want to be the the woman that does the things that she wants because she believes in it. And if other people take offense by me expressing myself by whatever, speaking my opinion, or having success, or having a third holiday this year because I can. I mean, I don't need to apologize for that. And that is something that was also part of the upper limit. Yeah.
So I know I haven't shared, I don't think I've shared this with you guys, but I'm going to share this now for this reason. You just set me up. There is, in law of attraction and in life frequency, every reality exists at the same time. So there's a reality where what you say, there's a lot of people that live in that frequency of, I'm happy, but I'm not allowed to share how happy I am, or I'm not allowed to express or have that in life because I'm concerned about what someone else is going to think. Because I have been taught or believe that if I actually express myself in my fullest nature, that someone isn't going to like it, which is true. Someone probably isn't going to like it, but then there's going to be people who like it. And so here's why I'm going to share what I'm going to share with you guys. This is, I think I've told everybody that I went to a retreat myself a couple of weeks ago, and I went for a couple different reasons. And it was 10 of us, and I didn't get to talk in like length with every single person there. We were doing things and whatever. And there was another lady who was there, and she was staying in a different building than I was. And I wouldn't even stay there. I was a commuter. I was here in Ohio, so I'd come back and forth every day. And so I just saw our meals, and I think we sat around and talked about, I mean, everybody talked, but I don't forget, we talked about astrology or something. I don't know. Anyway, she's a Taurus. And so, but I really didn't have more than like 4 or 5 words with this person. Her name is Julie. Well, Julie had to leave early. And so she wrote a little note about everybody before she left. And the leader, Helen, wrote it or put it in the Facebook group that she created for us. And I was like, oh, she wrote us each a note. I'm like, I did barely. And she sat next to me, or laid next to me in the circle, because we did yoga nidra and a bunch of other things in this woman's circle. And so she was stationed next to me. And so I sat next to her every day. But, there wasn't like a lot of chit chat, unlike my groups, which you're going to know this week. All of you are going to meet finally in person, and you'll see there's a lot of expression that's encouraged from you. Not because I want you to talk if you have nothing to say, but I want you to feel like you're fully self-expressed. Anyway, so the point of this is, so I was wondering, like, well, what is she going to say about me? Because I barely talked to her. All right. So JJ, I wish I had been braver to talk with you. You are such a force in the best way possible. You carry yourself with confidence, and you exude strength and power upon entering a room. I want to be like you when I grow up. Ha. You carry big goddess energy. And that dress last night, damn girl, you should be in a Marvel movie. My inner dialogue just sitting next to you in the circle in the sanctuary, someone give this woman a cape. So,
That's beautiful.
and I'm sharing that because I was in a room full of women who energetically were reaching for, wanting the same thing in the same kind of understanding and frequency. It could have gone the opposite way. I barely talked to her. I didn't know. She could have received me in a whole nother way, right? This could have been like, oh, you were nice, but you were a little too over yourself or whatever. I mean, and I was pretty centered, but it was the point that someone who I didn't interact with and I didn't perform for, and I didn't, right? And I wasn't the leader of this group. I was I was a participant just like her, that she got all of that from barely talking to me for a couple of days. So I share that with all of you here and listening and watching, because you have the only job you have is to be who you are, and then to discern where you want to put your energy, where you, and I didn't overperform or overgive or over rescue. It wasn't my event. Like, I kept my mouth shut. I just did my own thing. In fact, I even made sure I was grounded, extra grounded during that event, because I was like, I'm here for me. I'm going to make this about me. And whatever else happens is great. I don't, I have ideas about what I'd like to have happen, but I'm just going to focus on me. I literally purposely kept quiet more than I normally would have. And I love how that just sort of unfolded. And so you showing up as you will attract and evoke and inspire other people to give themselves permission to be bigger, to be brighter, to enjoy their life more. But someone has to fucking hold the torch. Like, someone's got to be doing it. Otherwise, we don't have anybody to follow. We don't have anybody to say, look, they're doing it. If we all play small, then we all play small and nobody wins. Nobody feels great. Nobody feels the passion or the possibility of life that they could have. In fact, I know I said I wasn't going to talk. That's probably something I should never say. One of my clients came back from a Greg Braden, Bruce Lipton event, and I don't know Greg Braden very well, and I'm sure one day I'll interview him, but their timing is everything for me. But she talked about the heart coherence and the idea that we all are so much more powerful than we even know, because we are always, there's governments and religions and, and structures that want to keep us smaller because they can control us. They get to make rules that we have to follow that keep the peace or whatever. But if everyone just explored their own divinity and their own power, you wouldn't need to control other people. We'd actually all be happier and more successful if we decided that our power was so much greater than everybody else's. And I don't mean like in comparison, that we all have our own power source that is has so much more potential than we even know and ever explore. And so I thank you for that, Ingrid. And I hope that landed well for all of you guys. But I wanted to share it because literally, you guys know me. I talk, and I didn't, and I was quiet. And so and I didn't talk to her, and we never have a relationship. And so the fact now, and again, but had it been the opposite, and she wouldn't have written publicly a negative thing, most likely. But let's say she did. Okay, well, that's one person. Am I going to give all my power away to one person receiving me in a bad way? No. Like, who am I living for? Who are you living for? Live for you. And that's not selfish. It just says, especially if you're coming from a place of passion and love and desire and excitement and engagement, and right. If it's one thing if you're trying to manipulate other people, but if you're just being you, then screw everybody else who doesn't get it. Like, find your tribe, attract the people. So continue to shine your light, Ingrid. I know we're going to continue to brighten it this weekend when you're here. Can't wait to meet you in person, give you a big hug, and everybody else too. And then, continue. Like, don't let this is for some of you, this is 6 or 7 months of your entire life. It's a snapshot. It's an awakening, and you have the opportunity to keep it going. And I want you to keep it going in any way you can, because if you don't, some of those older patterns are going to creep back in, because because they're stronger, because you practice them for much longer than 6 or 7 months. Right. So here's the awakening. And now what are we doing with it? So thank you, Ingrid, for sharing that. Karen, Dr. Karen, I'm not going to say that every time. Karen.
That's hilarious. I'm basically a happy person. And you gave me the tools, I have to say, with the manifesting challenge, to manifest my dream vacation, actually take it instead of keep looking at it. I signed up for Egypt after I did the manifesting, and I took my husband for his 75th birthday, which I don't usually give him gifts. He usually refuses. So I got in touch with my passions through the beginning in the manifesting challenge, even before we did this group. And this group just brought it further. And so I was able to continue my joy. And one of the greatest things I learned is I need to sit and reflect on my joy. I can access joy and happiness very easily. I don't always get to sit in it because I have the busyness going on. And so I'm actually manifesting taking days off. I'm off today. I'm off this week before your retreat. I'm taking time for me instead of driving from LA to Ventura back and forth and back and forth. So that's a big change. That's a change I've implemented. And again, I'm with women all the time. I'm going tonight to a women's group. I'm going tomorrow to a women's group. I'm interviewing women. Women are coming to me for my little magical sorcery habits. I don't know that I want to really get in and reveal all that, but I've been practicing magic for a long, long time, and I'm owning it now. Whereas before I couldn't always, it was a hidden part of me, like, what will they think of me? What will people think if I say I go to moon circles or I practice magic, and I can manifest with those magical spells. It sounds like, whoa, she's a little crazy. And yet people come to me. Lots of young women come to me to get that information. So,
And now you're owning it.
and now I'm owning it right here for the first time. I don't think I've ever said that aloud.
Well, good. Congratulations. Well, I hold full moon circles and new moon ceremonies. So, so as far as people listening to me, that shouldn't be weird because that's what I do and Empower You every month. So awesome. Well, I'm glad that you're owning yourself and taking space. That's pretty big for you and pretty big for everybody that needs to learn that, right? I mean, women, what's the nurturing part of us wants to save everybody and rescue everybody and overgive and not receive and not rest. And so that's the one thing women can learn more than anything is how to get your own needs met. And some of those needs are rest and space. So
And
without them,
balancing input and output.
yes.
That
Yeah.
balance.
Right.
Okay.
Thanks, Karen. Michelle.
Okay, most impactful, that's the question.
Most impactful, and then what did you change because of that?
It's a tough decision, but I think I'm gonna have to say the most impactful was looking at feelings and needs and understanding what kind of unmet needs that I have that I need to get met by myself. But I've also found that impactful, not just for me and noticing my own triggers but also in seeing it in other people. So that when people say things that might have triggered me before, I'm like, oh, that's a core wound, like that's something that I'm just being a lot more compassionate and a lot less, it's neutral around, not reactive to what other people are doing, because I'm like, this is not about me. And whereas I think, and I'm not perfect. I'm better at it. And I have a couple of particular relationships that I noticed this in that have really changed for me because I am letting their core wounds be their core wounds and not taking it personally. And so I think that, there were a lot of things that are impactful. I mean, certainly my practices every morning to start my day in joy have definitely transformed my demeanor in general. And I would say that I'm that I feel like that is more my base level emotion now, or my base level feeling is just feeling good. And I'm, looking for the good. And I even talked to my business partner about some of these things. I'm like, I'm all about the joy right now. I don't want to work on this unless this is going to bring me joy. So, and so it's helping me make decisions and choices, but that also has its other challenges too, because I want to spend all my time just being in joy and not doing work that I need to do to make money and get things done. So that trying to find how to marry those things and whatever my zone of genius really is, to work from there and offload the many busy things that I do. I think Karen and I are similar in this way, that I'm always going from one thing to another, and it's exhausting.
Right. But a lot of those things you were doing for others, and now you're doing at least more of them for you. And some of them bring you more energy than some of them were just over, you were out of balance.
Right. I mean, I do worry sometimes that I go too much the other direction. Like it's all about me now, it's, and how do I make sure that that it isn't just all about me, and that I can be there for other people too. Because I feel like that it's been a pent up so long, not doing it for me, that I'm just like, it's just such a big transformation that I have to find a balance.
Well, so pendulums don't stop and then go halfway. Like they go all the way to one side and all the way to the other side. And then as it starts to slow down, the range gets less. So you were in one side for a while. Now you've moved to the other side, and you feel a sense of freedom, having some more space now and not having, having some time to do things for you. And so I wouldn't say don't curtail the joy. Just let it kind of naturally have its, I mean, you have the tools to make the decisions about, why am I doing this? Where's this coming from? Is this a and am I out of balance? And what are things that I like? Here are my, within your core wounds and the patterns. I think one of your things might be to avoid, if I'm not mistaken. So we all have what the wound is, how you react, how you feel, and how you react. And so if and I'm an avoider, so I can raise my hand for that one. Some people rebel, some people avoid, some people withdraw, some people, right? That's, but if that's a pattern of yours, then you can just, check in with yourself every once in a while and see, what's the motivation for this? Is it that I'm avoiding, or is it that I just am having such a good time and I don't want to stop, and this is where I am right now? And then you just honor that, and life will take shape based on your decisions, and you don't have to cut off your joy necessarily. It's finding just how to balance it in a different way, which again goes back to your feelings and needs. When you and I first started, I had you take the feelings and needs list and circle all of the needs that weren't being met. I believe, if I'm not correct, it was most of them.
Yeah, I think I have that list somewhere in here. Yeah, it was a lot of them.
Yeah, and then but we did a redo, and some of them had fallen off because you now get more met, right?
Well, yeah, and I think it was like being clear, not what needs I have, but which ones really are not being met, as opposed to, yeah, I have a need for that and that and that and that, but which ones are really not being met. Yeah, it did get short.
Good. Okay, thanks, Michelle. Julie.
So I think what I learned the most was the whole core wound pattern thing. So I always knew your childhood affected you and all that, but you just had to have it laid out so perfectly to realize those issues, and then also how to carry it forward to rewire the whole thing. So anyway, so just learning those and learning how they affected me, learning how I have used them my whole life because of your upbringing, all that kind of stuff. So so now I learned that it was okay to have feelings and to have needs, and I think I see how I've kind of surrounded myself my whole life with people who have upper limited me, because that's where I was in the family, and could never have, you couldn't be too good, or you couldn't have too much, or you had to suffer and struggle and all those things. And so I think I carry that forward with some of my friends and groups, and the ex and the whole bit. So anyway, I recognize that, so it won't happen again. And just learning a deeper understanding of the law of attraction and all that. And then I think how I've changed is my whole routine. I've always done a lot of stuff, but the whole rampage thing, I love that. I'd never done that before. And so the journal and doing it with somebody, the vision board, I knew about it, but I'd never made one before. I have a better understanding of tapping, just all those tools that you gave us. And also, so now every week I buy myself flowers. I have them sitting in my bathroom. I get to see them all the time. And I love that. I just would have never done that just for me before. like it needed to have been, I would have done it for somebody else. I would not have done it for me. So I guess I'm just prioritizing things like that a little bit differently, and meeting my own needs that I realized I have needs because I didn't know that before. And taking care of it. And it just kind of makes for a happier life. So whatever brings more joy and love, that's the direction I'm trying to head.
You read me something last night on a text. And
That
I'm
was
not
long.
well, I'm not asking you to read it now, but I think I want you to reflect sort of, if you could, the overall arching theme, which was, it sounds like when you came to this group, you had the weight and you didn't, you wanted to dive into the feelings and you were dealing with the transition of your relationship. But in what you just said now, and then I think what you said in your voice letter to me last night was that you're more excited now about things and life. And you, like you just said about the flowers, like there's a level of self-care and self-love that you didn't know you didn't have, that now you can reach for, and that is bringing you more excitement and passion and self-worth, and in different ways. But you're not settling, you're not keeping quiet, and it sort of opened up this awareness. And now, because you have that awareness, you have this permission and this clarity and a focus of saying, well, what do I want? What makes me happy? What lights me up? I want to feel better more than I don't feel better. And I
Right.
have the power to do that, right?
Yes, like instead of having that just be like pushed down or not accepted, um, it's not just accepted; it's fully supported here, and that you can feel good about it. You can feel good about whatever it is, whether it's a fabulous trip you took or an accomplishment or something. So instead of keeping it small, it's more celebrated. You can celebrate it with yourself, and it's okay.
I do love that. And again, that goes with the theme of, of the remarks that Julie made about me. It's like, it's someone that I don't know reflecting back at me. And she doesn't listen to my podcast. She doesn't know anything about me. It's one thing if someone who does says something like that. Well, you've had many hours of experience listening to me talk about things or teach things, and you're interested because you've obviously clicked in and have downloaded things. But this is a different, situation. And I always read the Marianne Williamson poem, which I guess I'll read again today. I will do that at the end. I will make that the last thing I do. And you've heard it before if you've listened to the show, but I'm going to do it again because it's for you guys and then anyone who's listening. So right now, I want to go back around, and I want you to now take the time. So we'll do in the same order, and reflect to the other people in the group anything you see that has changed in them, whether it be, so like in the Date Your Body group at the end, one of the ladies said to everyone else, she's like, girls, we all look younger. Go back and look at yourselves in the beginning. We all look younger, right? So that was really fun, unprovoked. So I'm going to start with Ingrid, and we'll go our way around.
So the things that I noticed about the other ladies, um, I was looking back at the video recently to find something. And what I really noticed is how much happier we are now as to then. We were way more serious. And I think the biggest change I see in terms of happiness is in Julie. And she really is more open, more happy, more joy. You can really see that in her face and in the way she talks. And in the first a few weeks, she was the one that talked less, or well, was more like searching for answers and trying to find it in herself. And after a while, when there was some progress, let's put it that way, she was more able to share and find the answers or the feelings that she was looking for. So I see a really big change in Julie. As to, for instance, rampaging, during the course we've been rampaging to each other, and we've had each other all four partners, so we switched up a few times. And you could also see that the rampage in the beginning is like weird, and what are you rampaging about? And do I have to say again that I appreciate the weather and I appreciate that we had a nice meal? But the more you do it, and also for the other ladies, the more you do it, the less common the appreciations get and the more personal they get. And then you find that the bigger things that are in our lives are being mentioned as being appreciated or looking forward to. So that's what I noticed amongst ourselves, and
Awesome.
yeah. So that's cool. Yeah.
Yeah, it is. Awesome. Thanks, Ingrid. Okay, Karen.
I also have noticed Julie, and the word I used because I saw blossoming. She gets herself flowers, but I have actually seen her blossom, become more confident, know what she wants. Have a because I'm still continuing, even though I'm not in this group, I'm continuing to rampage with her. And I think this is a long-term relationship here. And I believe that we're using each other as for long-term relationship skills as well. um yeah, there's love there. And with Michelle, I've seen amazing accomplishments, writing a book, singing a song, performing. I can't wait for that celebration to happen. So I've seen just stepping out of your comfort zone, Michelle, and getting more and more comfortable with the direction that you want to go in. With Ingrid, you've always been incredibly bright and a shining light and a beacon on where to go if I ever wanted to go in business or how to operate in a business relationship. And I've seen you be more inclusive with your colleagues, and so they can actually back you up instead of there being a divisiveness in there. I see there's more harmony in your workplace, and you're bringing more spirituality to your life and to theirs by that way of being in the world. So I see that.
Beautiful. Thanks, Karen. Okay, Michelle.
All right, I wrote some notes. I think the big thing I noticed about Julie, and we were Rampage partners at the beginning, and so I feel like I want to do it again to see what's changed. Because it's clear that Julie had her list that she wrote down, and she was reading it and like, these are the things. Wait, do I have my list? And it was almost like at the beginning, a very resistant. I think that was the thing that I noticed most about Julie is like, does she know why she really did this? Because I'm not sure she really wants to. And then she really shifted into being lighter and more open and what everyone else has been saying. And I'm amazed at how humor and how she's so knowledgeable about health and a great resource. I'd love to see more of that. I noticed about Karen that I haven't heard her say many self-deprecating things recently. Like, just doesn't like label herself as much as she used to. And it was really exciting because Karen and I got to actually meet in person, and she was here, and I got to see her and her son and spend the day, which was lovely. And so I got to really feel like I got to know her, and we had a great time doing that. And I'm just amazed to I feel like I got to know her so much better, not just through that trip, but all of the different things, the different women's groups, and like you're talking about magic and all these cool things that you do and perfume. And I'm just like, wow, I'm can't wait to see what you tap into for Zone of Genius, because I feel like you're really starting to own your gifts. And that was exciting. And then Ingrid is just like, you're amazing. And but what has changed, or what I noticed along the way that I hope to see more of, was your creative side, because we all know that, okay, you're great at taking notes and you got all that left brain stuff down, but you paint and you do all this cool handiwork around your house, and you plan this amazing party for your daughter, and you have that collage that you made of everyday photo from her from her trip, and you're just like, yeah, that's just something I did. I'm like, no, that's pretty amazing. Like, how do you embrace all of that creativity? Because I really think that there's something there to explore that you are not just a left brain organized person, but there is something much more there.
Awesome. Thanks, Michelle. All right, Julie.
Okay, so everything everyone else said, plus for Ingrid, I think just over this course, it was really, really cool just to see her realize her gifts and that she has the ability to do whatever she wants to. She doesn't need to do a job she doesn't love. She can travel more. She can engage in new groups of friends. I think she's just realized that now. And that was just kind of really cool to see it all transpire. Michelle, the first time Michelle sang on a polo, her whole face lit up. Like, I think this course has allowed her to find her joy, and that it's okay to find joy, and it's okay to find joy all the time, because yeah, that's what life is, that's what it's for. So yeah, when she sang that first time, it was like looking at a different person. She was so happy. So anyway, very super talented too, but besides that. And Karen, oh my gosh, well, every time she talks, every time we do anything, she knows the people. She's been to their house for dinner parties. She was with them when they wrote the, like, whatever it is. But Karen just connects everything. And I think through all this, she's had all these moves and all these things going on, but she's still, keeping everything going. And I think she's realized, that whole relationship with her mother, I think she's taking control of it instead of having it control her. And I think that's a very, very, very healthy thing for her.
Okay. All right, my turn. And I'm going to read the Marianne Williamson. Okay. So Ingrid, yes, on the left brain, I can, and I think that's what attracts some of you to me in the initial, because I have, because I can lead with that. I can make right brain things left brain. Like I can explain law of attraction or mechanics of things or emotion, right? But they're right brain things. And we need both, of course. But I think that you exude now, I would say when you came in, you're used to, and based on what we've talked about today, used to being sort of contained and controlled. And now you are expanded and you flow. I think through strengthening your intuition and understanding that and allowing yourself to sort of break the mold and like be and allow. Yeah, I think you have just been, cut your hair, which was beautiful before, but like it's given you like a new sort of energy of fun and embracing all the wonderful things that you have going on in your life. So you've blossomed. You've blossomed into more of who I think you are that you weren't willing to share with other people. You all have, actually, in ways. Okay, so Karen, so even with all the knowledge and the different things that you've done and learned and continue to do, I think that, and with all the stimulus that you've had going on, I think I have seen in you a dedication to being aware and reconnecting with yourself instead of, and not that we all do this, right? There's a certain projection, there's a certain performing for love. You did, it's a mother wound. It's it's just a wound. And I see you choosing things for you first more now and being able to make the decision because of what's best for you, not because of how it's going to affect somebody else or what someone else is going to give to you. So it's like reclaiming that essence of, I know you were going to talk about Awaken Your Dream Life and sort of character one and that linear thing, but it's more than that. Like we didn't talk about that, but it's more than just saying, I need some structure. It's me realizing that I have to create it for myself. And so you have taken the steps to create that structure for yourself and dedicate as much as you can energetically and with the time frame that you have to do that. So it feels like you're reining in, you're focusing your energy, you're channeling your energy differently. And it's still work in progress, but it went from like scattered energy, diffused energy to focused energy, because that's where your power lies, and being able to also own your gifts and talents in a new way, hopefully even more so as we move forward, and you let that be the thing that you claim instead of by default. Instead of, so when people say, oh, you're so good at something, and people go, oh, no. If now you're saying, oh, yes, oh, yes, thank you for acknowledging me. I agree with you, and I'm going to take that, and I'm going to own that. So I have seen you blossom into wanting to focus that and channel that big energy and power that you have. Michelle, you've become more brave and unapologetically determined to feel joy no matter what someone else thinks or does. And that is what lights you up. I know we talked about, you've done a lot of different, therapies and programs and stuff like that. And it's a lot of talking. It's a lot of talking about stuff. But what you did mention to me in the beginning was like, we're doing shit. Like, you have us doing things, and it's evoking the doing. And so, but you've leaned into the doing, and you've been brave to stretch your comfort zone, to do the karaoke night, to do the singing on the Marco, to do this, the taste. No, what is it? The Tastmasters? No, not talk. What is it called? Toastmasters. Okay, sorry.
Oh, we did the moth. Yeah, that was fun.
Right. So you've given yourself permission to be brave and to have more courage and to be more committed to what you think than to always listen to what everybody else thinks and how everybody else reacts. And then Julie. Yeah, at first I was like, yeah, I know you were dead. You wanted to be here. You called me. We talked in Sedona. You were like, and then I was like, okay, what's going on? What's happening? What is she? Is this too much? And then, but you were the first person to be like, I'm gonna do a journey. I'm gonna do my VIP day. I'm coming out there next week. I was like, okay. And then you did it without even knowing anything about what it was. And then you were such a trooper in handling all parts of it, and this, like, you are so courageous to say, I'm going to do this. I don't know what to expect. Okay, I didn't really love it. Okay, I don't like how I feel right now. But I do understand at some level that if I'm feeling this, I probably should be, but I'm going to keep going anyway. So your dedication to the process, your dedication to learning, your dedication for trying new things and stepping out of your comfort zone big time is commendable. And now what you have going on, all the exciting things, I mean, yeah, I'm excited for your future, all of you guys. I'm excited for what's coming. I'm excited for your new way of honoring yourselves and really stepping into saying, I'm worth being happy and successful and joyful and connected. And I don't have to give that power away like I did before, to the stories, to the wounds, to the people, and to the environments that I did. So on closing here, our deepest fear by Marianne Williamson. Our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. It is our light, not our darkness, that most frightens us. We ask ourselves, who am I to be brilliant, gorgeous, talented, and fabulous? Actually, who are you not to be? You are a child of God. You playing small does not serve the world. There is nothing enlightened about shrinking so that other people won't feel insecure around you. We are all meant to shine, as children do. We were born to make manifest the glory of God that is within us. It's not just in some of us, it's in everyone. And as we let our own light shine, we unconsciously give other people permission to do the same. As we are liberated from our own fear, our presence automatically liberates others. Thank you all for amazing, wonderful 6 and 7 months that you've been here. I appreciate you. I look forward to hugging you all in a few days from now and sharing your story with the world to inspire other women and men to love themselves enough to want better and to want more and to want to be the best they can be, so that for the time they're here on this planet that they've incarnated, to expand and flow and be abundant in all ways. And I appreciate you sharing all of your stories and inspiration with everybody else. So thank you so much.